Insights on PBS Hawaii brings you a live conversation with our state's county police chiefs. Hawaii Island Police Chief Paul Ferreira. From Maui County, Police Chief Tivoli Faaumu. And Honolulu Police Department's new leader, Chief Susan Ballard. Department transparency, the homeless, police body cameras, school lockdowns. Get your questions ready for our special insights. Tonight's live broadcast and live stream of Insights on PBS Hawaii start now.
Aloha and welcome to Insights on PBS Hawaii. I'm Darryl Huff with Hawaii News Now. Hawaii has 4 county police departments that employ nearly 3,000 police officers and more than 700 civilians. They are responsible for an area of more than 6,000 square miles across 8 islands, populated by 1.5 million residents, 133,000 military and their dependents, and roughly 250,000 tourists on any given day. Each island community has its own police commission and sets its own rules and regulations for its police force. Tonight we have a rare opportunity to hear from 3 of Hawaii's county police chiefs. How similar or different are law enforcement issues on each island? What are their worst problems? Let's find out. We look forward to hearing your participation in tonight's show. You can email, call, or tweet your questions, and you'll find a live stream of this program at pbshawaii.org and the PBS Hawaii Facebook page. Now to our guests. Paul Ferreira is the chief of Hawaii County Police Department, which covers all of Hawaii Island. Tivoli Faaumu is Maui's chief of police. The Maui County Police Department includes Maui, Molokai, Lanai, and Kaua. Susan Ballard is chief of police for the Honolulu Police Department, which covers the entire island of Oahu. We regret that Chief Darryl Perry from Kauai could not be with us tonight due to an injury that has put him on leave. The Kauai Police Department has jurisdiction over the islands of Kauai and Niihau. First off, what we'd like to, your primary mission obviously is to protect the public. And I'd like to ask, let me start with you, Chief Ballard. How do you feel like we're doing right now in terms of protecting the public? What's the biggest challenges out there right now?
As far as protecting the public, I think all the police departments are doing a great job, because we continue to be, one of the safest states, in the United States. The crime is, still low compared to, the mainland crime. At least for Oahu, I guess one of our biggest challenges, obviously, is, the homeless issue. And then, probably followed closely by property crimes.
Chief, how's Maui doing?
Well, I will echo what Chief Ballard has said and pick up from there. From my county, right now, most of the complaint that I receive is about abandoned vehicle, illegal parking in a community and all that. So if you look at the bigger picture, I think we are doing fine. If that's most of our call. Last year, we had over 140-something thousand calls for service. And out of that, 50% were non-criminal in nature. So I think we are doing a great job, and that we credit that to the men and women that are out there day in, day out, that don their uniform and out there protecting our community. But also promoting community policing and the participation of our community had helped us work together to be able to address the issue. And of course, I guess I can say Maui is the most beautiful island and make Maui a nice place and for folks to come and visit and they leave.
Okay, and Chief?
I have to echo what my counterparts have said. I think overall the state of Hawaii is very safe. We do have our challenges on Hawaii Island. It is property crimes right now. But I think one of the biggest challenges we have on Hawaii Island is the size of the geography of the island. We cover over 4,000 square miles. You can take the rest of the state and put it in Hawaii, and you still have to move around. So our challenge is having a force of 450 sworn officers to cover that 4,000 square miles is a challenge for us. And because of that, a lot of rural areas, we have burglaries happening, we have thefts occurring. And it takes time. One of the complaints we get is the amount of time it takes our officers to respond to calls.
Let me show a graphic now where you take a look at some of these crime rates statewide. We'll start with comparing 2016 to 2015, which are the last numbers that we have. It's pretty interesting. You are seeing what exactly you folks are mentioning, that overall And the numbers across the top of this graphic, these are index crimes. So it's actually the number of crimes per 100,000 people. And you can see state Hawaii overall is down 6.2%. City and County of Honolulu down over 2%. Hawaii County down 24%. Congratulations. 5.6% down on Maui County, and Kauai County down. So all down quite a bit. And let's also take a quick look at index crime rates. These are crime rates for different types of crime, violent crime, murder, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault. And as you'll see, the rates for two violent crimes have gone up. Murder and rape have gone up so from 2016 to 2015. Murder a fair amount, 20.9%. I think there were 32 murders in 2016. Robbery and aggravated assault are down. And finally, take a quick look at property crimes. And there you do see overall a dropping trend, except for motor vehicle theft, which has gone up very slightly over time. And so overall, yeah, I think what you guys are saying is true. You know, what do you attribute that to, Chief Ferreira? Why would we see this is against growing population and growing numbers of visitors? And I don't mean to be abrupt about this, but it can't just be the police department, or can it?
No, and you know, I think Chief Faaumu had said it. It's the community involvement. Like for Hawaii County, we have our community policing officers going out in the community, meeting with them, creating neighborhood watch programs, and it's with the community's help that we're able to solve a lot of the crimes. We cannot do it by ourselves, and it's been said before that the police department is the community's police department. It doesn't belong to me. And any credit that goes for the solving of this crime goes to the officers in the field, goes to the detectives, the staff, the support staff. But a large part of it is the community involvement, getting the community out there. They're our eyes and ears, especially for Hawaii County, because we're so large in size that our officers taking time to get to a scene, that we need the community to tell us what they've saw, what they're seeing, what's happening out there.
Let me just throw this out, Chief Faaumu. Do you feel like the economy improving has an impact on this country too, or is it a combination of things? I think many people would attribute a better economy to lower crime.
The answer to that is yes and no. So if you look at my county, you know, the last sugar mill went out of business, you know, a year ago. So folks can say, well, the economy is not good. A lot of people, there were over 600 folks lost their job.
That tends to be kind of in a certain area too, right? A lot of people lose their job in a certain area.
That is correct. But I think the real reason why the crime went down is what Chief Ferreira talked about. He mentioned that it's a community thing, and one of the area that we wanted to do is the trust of the community in the police department. So what we're looking at, we're doing a survey on reported crime and unreported crime and underreported crime. And the reason why we wanted to do that is, does the community have faith in the department? You know how it is. You call the police and what happened? You waited and you waited. Well, why bother? Why bother the police? And so able to look at that and address those issues, allow the community to work together. If they have faith, when they pick up their phone and call the police, somebody will respond. If they see something going on in their neighborhood, they will call, instead of looking the other way and say, why bother the police?
Throwing up your hands, yeah.
Yes.
Chief Ballard, let me start with a couple of graphics. It seems this is Honolulu's total, this is a 10-year trend. So if people don't want to focus too much on the numbers, basically the red line, and when we get a chance to get this graphic up, is the total crimes. The yellow line is the property crimes, and the blue line is the violent crimes, the ones we mentioned before. And pretty much if we look at the Honolulu trend, it has been pretty steadily down. I mean, it'll pop up here and there, but you know, Honolulu has got so many people, it kind of maybe drives the whole statewide statistic to a certain extent. To what do you attribute this trend over the last 10 years or so in Hawaii, in Honolulu?
It's the same thing as the other chiefs were saying. It's down to the community, and the community needs to get involved. On Oahu, we've got a few more challenges because it is a metropolitan area that the communities sometimes we are finding now are not as tight as they used to be. And you know, a lot of that comes down to illegal vacation rentals, because if you get people into your neighborhood that are not, you know, have a vested interest in the neighborhood, they're only there for a week or two, that, you know, they're not going to really care about what's going on versus the people, you know, who it's their homes. So our job is to go out and make sure that, you know, we keep the neighborhoods together, and encourage them to have their neighborhood security watches, to participate in the different programs, you know, that are offered. You know, and not just, you know, the same people over and over again. It's to try and get, especially the young kids now, to get involved in what's going on in their neighborhood and in the community, and on the whole island, for that fact.
You know, and also Chief Faaumu mentioned, you know, the trust of the department. I mean, has that been kind of a struggle for HPD over the last few years, or do you feel like even despite what was happening at the top of the department, there's a pretty good attitude toward the department by the general public?
As everybody knows, I mean, we had a history.
We can't leave it out.
Yeah, we can't leave it out. It's the elephant in the room. We have the history. And yes, so, you know, when I took over, that was a huge issue, is community trust, and we knew it. But what's been very interesting, just in the, you know, since November when I took over, the hope in the community, I mean, just, it's really overwhelming, and I shouldn't say overwhelming, it's humbling to me, because the amount of support that the community has. I mean, the people that are coming up and saying thank you, you know, we appreciate everything that you folks do. You know, the Hawaii is really unique, that the people here forgive so easily, and they're ready to put what happened behind us and to move forward. And they're giving us the benefit of the doubt, and the support that we have out there, even though we destroyed community trust from before, they're willing to give us that opportunity and chance to move forward.
And one thing that's interesting about Hawaii, too, is that we're all living together, right? So we all know police officers. We all know people. I mean, I've had classmates that have been high commanders in the police department. You know these people, you like these people, you trust these people. So there's not so much of this us and them attitude that you see in other places. Chief Ferreira, let me talk to you a little bit about your numbers from Hawaii County. Again, this is the same similar graphic. Red is total, yellow is property crime, and blue is violent crime. And what's interesting to me about this is that the violent crime level seems to be very steady, while you are sort of seeing a trend down of the other things. You know, and recently there have been some really high profile, there's been a lot of fireworks in parts of your island.
Yes.
How would you respond to what we're seeing in these trends, and particularly violent crime, shooting? Are you worried about things ticking up there?
You know, as far as the property crimes, those are going in trends. You're going to see spikes and drops, and that's depending on what population, the criminal population out in the area. When we take out a specific group, you're going to see the property crimes drop. In 2017, we had a spike in auto thefts that was going on. Because of that, we formulated a special enforcement unit that targeted the criminals that were involved in the auto thefts. And we brought, I think we arrested something in the area of 27 individuals responsible for the theft. So you saw a complete drop in the auto theft.
And some of those people had stolen a lot of cars.
Yes. And it was a revolving door. They go into court, they got released, they came back out, they stole a car. And it happens. As far as the violent crimes, yeah, you see a steady, it always is a steady trend. Is it more drugs on the street? Is it more, we see a lot of homeless individuals now taking robberies or assaulting other homeless individuals. That is out there in the streets now. So yes, it is concerning to us. It is something that we look at. And we have had our challenges this year alone. We've activated our special response team, or our SWAT team, 4 times this year already.
How does that compare to a prior year?
On barricaded suspects. Prior to that, you may have activated them 4 times throughout the whole year. Wow. So there is an increase.
You're only in March now.
We are seeing that increase. So we are very cognizant of it. We just recently had an officer shot in responding to an incident. Fortunately, very fortunately for us, it was not it's a serious wound. Any wound is serious, but it wasn't life-threatening. So we hope he'll be back on the force here shortly.
Well, our thoughts are to your officers. I mean, when you start seeing something like that, and in your island, officers respond by themselves fairly often, right?
And a lot of credit whenever I see that crimes going down or the crimes, keep it under wraps, I give the credit to our officers. They're the ones in the field. They're the ones that have to deal with it on a daily basis.
Okay, let me move, Chief Faaumu. Maui, we'll take a look at these numbers very briefly. So we were talking about this earlier. In this one, it's sort of like all over the map. I don't know, is there a trend here that you could identify for us? I mean, don't spend too much time on that, but I mean, what do you think? Do you feel like crime is down on Maui, or is things coming up?
I believe crime is going down. But then, as you mentioned, if you look at the graphs, is going up and down. It relates to our de facto population, our tourists visiting the island, and of course the crime of opportunities, for those that prey on our visitors, take advantages of them. Our visitors will go out to the beach and enjoy it, leave their belonging in there, and then these folks will come in and stole their backpack, and in there they have the key to their car, the keys to their hotel rooms, and whatever they have with them.
IDs that could be stolen.
IDs could be stolen. So that contribute to the fluctuation in the graph that you have there. Mm-hmm. But I think overall, if you look at it and you compare it to the big cities, I think we are doing a good job on it. What we learned that working together with the stakeholders, the Hotel Security Association, and of course the group in the community that work with us to address some of these issues. And most of the increase, again, is related to the increase in our de facto population and the crime of opportunity.
That's an interesting point to bring up, a good segue to this idea of crime on visitors. Chief Ballard, in fact, this has been an issue because people are perceiving quite a bit more crime in Waikiki. But Honolulu is a bigger city with actually partly fewer visitors de facto than the neighbor islands. And how are we doing on that? I mean, do you stay awake at night hoping not for that horrible crime against the tourists that's going to reverberate out? And is that one of the big things that you are concerned about?
We're always worried. I mean, not just against the tourists, but anybody, any violent crime that occurs, to any of the residents or tourists, is something that we don't want. But interesting is talking about the beach thefts and stuff, because they come to Hawaii and the tourists think it's paradise, so they think that there's no crime, and they leave their stuff unattended. So we recently had a conference down in Waikiki with the hotels, security, HPD, the prosecutor's office, and out of that, we're going to be doing things like putting lockers down in Waikiki so that the tourists as well as the local folks can lock up their belongings while they're at the beach. Installing signs to remind them, do not leave your belongings unattended. Just some basic suggestions, because you come down here on vacation and you're footloose and fancy free, and you just sometimes forget that you have to take those precautions. And what we always remind them is, when you go out and have a good time, alcohol always seems to be a common denominator whenever there's usually some type of big crime down in Waikiki, and violence, because alcohol, you let your guard down, you're not aware of your surroundings, you may interact with people that you wouldn't normally interact with. So that's always something to be cognizant of. When you go out to a strange place, don't go out by yourself. If you're going to go drinking, take someone with you. Limit your drinking to amount that you can handle without so you can be aware of your surroundings.
Because you have a lot of young people who are out very late at night and with a little testosterone involved too.
There you go, you got it.
Chief, I want to respect the viewers' calls here. Well, first, before I read this question, because this is a hard question, I'll save it for a moment. But in terms of visitor crime on your island, how does it compare to what's happening on the other islands?
I think it's happening across the state, as far as the visitor crime, and it is property crime, and it is the sense, like Chief Ballard said, the sense that visitors are leaving their belongings thinking they're in Hawaii and it's carefree. And so they become targets. So our goal is to make the visitors know ahead of time when they land, when they go check into their hotel, when they get their rent-a-car. Keep reminding them, you know, although you're in Hawaii, yeah, this is a paradise, but there is crime on the streets. So common sense needs to prevail. You cannot leave your purse out for anyone to see. You cannot jump in the beach, jump in the ocean, no one else is around, and your purse, your handbag, your wallet, everything's sitting there on the beach.
You know, we're talking a lot about property crime here, and are our laws tough enough on property criminals in this state, or do they tend to say, oh, it's just a property crime when they go to court?
Well, I think we do. We have, I think our laws is enough to prevent these folks from doing it. And one of the things that we notice on Maui is it's just a group. It's not a whole bunch of street gang or something.
There's not that many people committing a lot of crimes?
Yes, it's just a few that do it. And once you be able to target that individual and put that away, you notice the numbers of criminal activities will go down. You know, okay, and pretty much that's what it is. And I know it is important. It is important to all of the chiefs. And the reason being, I think you touch on it, that one of the difference between Hawaii and the mainland is because we are part of the community. So we too take pride of what we do. We do work with the community because we have family members in the industry, in the visitors industry. So if we do not do our part through education, as Chief Ballard mentioned, or through training that we provided to our visitors and working with the stakeholders, it will then affect our number one industry, which is our visitors.
Either of you want to weigh in on that? Do you feel, Chief Ballard, that our laws are tough enough, or our criminal justice system or the judiciary are tough enough on property criminals, or are we too likely to give someone too many chances?
We have the laws that are on the books, and I can't really speak for the judiciary. I can only see it from our side, is that it does appear that it's a revolving door when it comes to property crimes, that you know, that if it's just a stolen car and, you know, it's not a crime against a person, then, well, it's only property.
Except the poor person who just had their car stolen.
Right. Or even, you know, even burglaries. My house was burglarized. And, you know, you can say it's just a property crime, but if it happens to you for couple of years, it's hard to sleep. It's hard because every noise that you hear, you're thinking, oh, is somebody breaking into my house? You know, so it takes a toll on the person, even though it's just a property crime.
Did they catch him?
No. I got some of my stuff back, but didn't catch the person.
Oh, okay. Chief Ferreira, why does East Hawaii have more crime than any other part of the state?
I don't know that that's true. I don't know that that's true.
There's misconceptions out there about crime, right?
And, you know, I have to say that, I know I'm going to upset people with this, but I have to say that a lot of times social media has put out there misperceptions on what is actually going on in the state or in a county, where they're paint a picture like the crime is all happening in Hilo or the crime is all happening in Puna. But in reality, if you look at the actual crimes that are being called on, you know, it may not be that factual. People when social media puts out there, you know, a lot of times it's a false narrative. They're hearing it from somebody else, they're hearing it from the friend, the neighbor. And for law enforcement, that's a challenge because now we're reacting to what is being put out on social media and trying to make changes on how we operate. So saying that crime,
squeaking wheel.
Yeah, so saying crime in the East Hawaii is a greater than the rest of the state, I don't think that's true.
Okay, so I want to start moving on to some questions because they're starting to come in fast and furious. First, Chief Ballard, and this one opens up a couple of tough questions for all the police departments, but they point this one at you. An officer was fired for beating his wife, then reinstated after 4 years and paid back pay. I mean, I think there's enough questions in that part, but he says, why does it take 4 years? So, you know, how difficult is it to fire a police officer? I mean, when there's, I mean, is that a big issue? And maybe I'll have all of you weigh in on this, but.
To fire an officer, I mean, it's a process because they have, rights for the collective bargaining agreement. So there's even, there's the investigation that has to be done, and then they get a hearing in front of the chiefs. Then a decision's made, and then they have a right for what they call a louder mill, and then so all this entire process can take, just to terminate somebody, can take up to a year if you're lucky. I mean, if it's a short period of time, but sometimes it'll be a year and a half, 2 years. And then once they're terminated, then they have a right through their collective bargaining agreement to go through the grievance procedures. And they go through the different steps, and then when they get to the final step, the arbitration, then a lot of times, the arbitration takes quite a while to do. So it is a very lengthy process.
How do you guys feel about that process? I mean, have you tried to fire people and just have them keep coming back?
Well, I did terminate quite a few employees, and I think in this questions, I will take ownership to it. And here is my reason behind it. As Chief Ballard mentioned, we do the investigation. If they commit a criminal act, there is a criminal investigation and there is administrative investigation. So my lower echelon did what they're supposed to do. Then it moves up the rank. It goes up to our administrative review board. They review the allegation, either sustain the charges or not sustain the charges. And then it comes to me to make the final decision. Okay. And at times, sometimes we use our human instinct, instead of saying, well, you know what, I'll just terminate them, or, oh, has a family, has this and that. And again, I'm only speaking for myself, because that's what I go through, and that's what I go through with it. If I want the easy way out, is like, well, you commit this is what the book says, you're done. But then you have to balance that.
Then you also have to, the constraint of you have to treat everyone equally. So if one guy gets fired and another one doesn't, then you got a lawsuit.
Yeah, past practice, you have that, the past practice to take into account. And sometimes I'll make the call, and of course they have the right to the collective bargaining. They will challenge every decision I make, but it's tough, making those decisions.
And I would agree with my partners across the state that it is a challenge not only to terminate an officer, to terminate any employee. You have to deal with the collective bargaining, and we have to make sure that we follow all the steps.
Do you feel that the union in this state is at all helpful in this process, or is it automatically going to fight any termination? I mean, aren't there times when you just go, this guy's got to go, and everyone just goes?
Well, for the union's behalf, they're required by law that they have to represent the officer. It doesn't matter what the officer did or what they feel. If the officer goes to them, they have to represent the officer. So it's not like a choice that this person is absolutely guilty, we're not going to have anything to do with them. They don't have that option.
Okay.
And there have been times when the union has said, we'll stand by the termination. We won't fight the termination. We won't grieve it in arbitration. They'll take it all the way up to arbitration, and at that time they'll make the decision, no, they're not going to move forward with it. And there has been times.
The other thing that question brought up was a question of dealing with domestic violence. And you hear from advocates all the time that either officers aren't taking the victim's story seriously enough, or that police officers who commit domestic violence don't get treated the same way as someone else, those sorts of things. I mean, what kind of progress are you making? Chief, I'll start with you. How often does this come up in your department, and what are you doing to help the public trust that domestic violence is going to be taken very seriously and fairly, and women are going to be listened to?
We've taken the position that domestic violence of any kind, whether it's your spouse, your brother, your sister, whoever it is, it's very serious, and it is a termination offense that we will look at. We'll put an officer on leave without pay, and we will ultimately look at termination. From the time the police recruits come on board, they're told from the very beginning that we have zero tolerance for domestic violence. And we showed it in the past that anytime an officer has been challenged or has been accused of domestic violence, that they have been let go.
Have you had issues on Hawaii Island with domestic violence victims, not of police officers, but just involved, don't feel like they're being treated fairly, or they're not being taken seriously, the whole blame the victim thing?
I'm sure they are. There are times when the domestic violence victims have come forward and said, they don't believe the police are listening to them. They've made report after report after report. But domestic violence is a cycle, and you have domestic violence victims, unfortunately, that fall under that category where they keep going back to the abuser, and it's a cycle that keeps happening, and the officers see it. And, they want to take the domestic violence victim at their word, but they have to look at everything that's going on. And it's not the victim's fault. It's that cycle that happens, and that's where the advocates, domestic violence advocates, they have to help them to get out of that cycle.
What's your perspective, Chief Faaumu, on this issue, and how is it evolving?
When it comes to domestic violence with the Maui Police Department is zero tolerance, pretty much it. And I do have certain articles in our collective bargaining, Article 55, that allow me, to provide me the tools to take appropriate action. And in there are criteria that does the incident affect the department or the public, and then I use that as a guideline, and I will follow exactly what Chief Ferreira mentioned. I will put them on administrative leave. No, I will put them on leave without pay, because right now suitability is an issue now, based on our HRS, whether they can carry firearm or not. Are you suitable for police officer? And then I will follow. One thing I will do is we'll then follow the due process of how the case will proceed. And as I mentioned earlier when you asked me the question, is I took it upon myself as a leader of them, because if I rush into judgment, I might get bite in the end.
Let me ask, though, also from the perspective, and forgive me for interrupting, but I want to try and move us along because we have a pile of questions that's building here. How about for the victims of domestic violence that are not involved, not police department connected, just what do you tell your officers in terms of how they should treat those victims in the community?
We have our policies in place that really provide strict guidelines that they need to be followed. These officers must follow that, supervisors must follow that. If you fail to do so, you will be disciplined. And that's the message we drive to our folks on the line.
Chief, how is it evolving in your department, particularly, as the first, female chief? Have you noticed through the years attitudes toward women victims in domestic violence that were not acceptable to you?
I mean, obviously, when I first came in, domestic violence was not something that was really addressed with the police department. It was just like a lot of different crimes. It was just, it was something that happened in the house, and it really wasn't talked about. But as the laws changed, then we really haven't. For us, it doesn't matter who the victim is. It can be a male victim. It can be a female victim. It doesn't matter if it's domestic. If it's domestic violence, it's same as with the other islands. Is that there is a zero tolerance, and that the aggressor will be arrested. And it doesn't matter if it's the community or if it's a police officer. And I know a lot of times they think that, you hear people, the police department's covering up for the officers, and absolutely not. Any officer whose victim comes forward, whether it's whatever the spouse is, male, female, or otherwise, that officer will be, their police powers will be removed, and an investigation will be done.
And there have been allegations in the past of police officers covering up for each other. Is that something that's equally a zero tolerance policy?
Absolutely, and the officers nowadays, they know that that's not something that is tolerated. I mean, same thing, with the DUIs, might have been in the past, if my buddy was driving drunk, then I'm gonna just let him go or whatever, but now you see the officers are being arrested by other officers because there is that zero tolerance, and they know that, their job is on the line as well.
The last point on this issue of the changing views, the evolving, one of the big things that's changing is women in police departments. You were famously quoted as saying, the Honolulu Police Department was a woman haters club. Is that what you said? How has that changed over the years, and what do you see doing, about that? How are you guys handling that now?
Women are a part of the police department, and the men don't look at the women any different. It's not like it was when when I first came in. because the women have strengths, the men have strengths, and they know how to use each other's strengths out there. And we have our weaknesses, women as well as the men, and we're able to use the women's strengths to overcome the men's weaknesses and vice versa. And they work together as a team. They don't look at each other anymore as a male officer or a female officer. It's just as an officer.
Chief Faaumu, I know your department is contending with this as well. How do you feel your department is doing in regard to moving women up, treating women fairly? There's this. All departments face this. It's a boys' club, right? How do you get officers to start to respect women, and do you feel like you're doing a good job of messaging that?
I think I am, and I think my staff are doing a good job. I will echo what Chief Ballard said. The generation of police officers now, they don't look at as another officer is whether you're a female officer or male officers. They treat them the same. In my department, I have 385 sworn officers. I have 10% of that are female officers, and some of them by choice. They get to a point in their career, they said enough is enough, it's time to retire, and they retired on their own. But we treat them equally, the same, and I think as it's on us as leaders, it is a challenge to recruit for police officers. But if we can somehow let the public know that it is a good working environment, it's not a hostile working environment, it's a friendly working environment, and everybody's treated equal. And I think it will help us on the recruitment side.
Your appointment as chief probably inspired women to say, oh, I could move up in the police department. How do you treat the issue of moving up in a police department? I mean, there's a lot of processes involved in promotion, and there have been accusations in the past that women were not moved up. How do you deal with that?
I haven't seen that happen on Hawai'i Island for years. We have approximately 43, I believe, sworn officers that are female.
And what percentage?
Highest is that it would be about just under 10% of our force right now.
So both of you are about 10%.
The highest ranking female officer we have right now is a captain, and they go all the way down. We have several lieutenants, sergeants, detectives, patrol officers, and recruits. We're constantly recruiting females through our academy. We had, and this is a credit to the female genders, we had a class that miserably failed us. We started with 16, we ended up with 6 graduating, and we ended up 4 going out into the field, and there was only 2 individuals in that class that made it from start to finish without a hiccup. There was 2 females. So it's a credit to
That's great to hear.
And so the females, I haven't seen where our officers are treating the female officers any different. They're holding them to the same standard they hold themselves to. And a lot of female officers can handle a lot better than male officers.
Okay, now comes, speaking of that, we're going to go to the speed dating round of our show. I have a lot of questions here. Some of them are very specific to a specific person. I'm just going to go through the pile. So the first is, could the panel address drug-related crimes and arrests, and what is being done with these to deal with these offenders? Also, sometimes HPD response time is slow, and they show up after the incident has taken place. Well, that's pretty much the only time you would show up is after the incident. But drugs, I mean, how big a problem is the drug problem right now? I understand that I've heard people say meth is as bad as it ever has been, but our property crime rates are down. So let me start with Chief Ballard. What do you think is happening in the drug world, and how is it reflecting on your daily business?
Drugs are a problem, and they're always going to be, especially the low-level drugs, the users. And it does reflect on property crimes. And why is it going down? It's hard to say, but it is a problem in certain areas. We see it. The community sees, the drug trades, the drug buys. We can go out there and do buy bus, till the cows come home. But once again, we arrest them, they get taken to court, and if it's a low level, usually they do minimal, and then they're back out on the road.
Actually, now that I think about it, when it comes to revolving doors, if we think it's revolving on property crime, it really revolves on the drug crimes, right? A call from Lanai is asking, Chief Faaumu, why dogs are not stationed at the 2 points of entry, the airport and the harbor, to interdict the drugs coming into the island.
It was brought to my attention, and it was something that we wanted to address. Right now, as far as our budget allow us
dogs
to
aren't cheap, right? I mean, people think, oh, dogs are cheap, but it's really expensive.
expensive.
What we have done is we allow our K9 unit, our narcotic K9 unit, to work with the ferry and also at the airport. And again, right now we look at the demand that put on us as far as the need for a K9. There are other areas that had more demand, so we kind of divert our resources to it. And Lanai is a good island, I think, if that's the case. In this.
Yeah. Chief Ferreira, you know, it seems like the Big Island tends to be almost like the canary in the coal mine in the drug trade. It seems like things happen first on your island. What are you seeing in trends in terms of what's going on with the drug industry now?
Well, as far as the biggest drug of choice right now is crystal meth, and that's, I think, across the state, that's a drug of choice. If you look at the price of crystal meth, it's come down drastically from before. And if you look at how much emphasis was placed on crystal meth back in 2004, 2006, there was a strong emphasis placed by the whole state on stopping crystal meth, and we took a lot of dealers, we took out a lot of trafficking that was coming in. I don't know of any recent labs that were found across the state or even on the Big Island. So majority of all the crystal meth is being brought in. Being trafficked in.
A lot of it's mail, right?
Our challenge is how to get the trafficking stopped, how to address those issues. So we work with our federal partners, we work with the other counties. We got to work cooperatively across the state because we're an island state. We have to deal with this as an entire state, not just a county. So, like for us, we have task force assigned to the harbors. We have task force assigned to the airports that work with our federal partners to address these issues. And it is. People thought that crystal meth went away after the 2004, the 2006, the emphasis that was placed on it.
After the movie.
Yeah, but it never went away. It's always been there, and it is there. And like I said, the price has gone down, the availability has gone down, so that's what we have to attack.
We have a couple of questions about homelessness. One is, you know, do police officers feel like, it seems like to one caller, she was mentioning Windward, Oahu, that the police seem almost like social workers over there trying to, you know, take care of people. And then on the other side of the coin, the caller wants to know why laws on loitering, soliciting, obstruction are not enforced against the homeless people. Chief Ballard, what's the dilemma when it comes to dealing with the homeless? What are the big burdens that you face?
They're absolutely correct. The police officers are turning into social workers. And on Oahu, there's more and more laws that are being passed that affect the homeless. Like the sit lies type of law that we have. Loitering is not against the law. You can't just tell people, I guess the community has a misconception, so if you see a homeless person, and granted sometimes they don't have the nicest odor coming from them, and so you know the community wants you to move them along, and we can't do that. They have a right to be there. There's civil rights, and so yeah, loitering is. A lot of people think that it's against the law, but it's not. So it is. It's a challenge, and the biggest challenge is to try and find them the help that they need through through whatever the social agencies are, and we're trying to develop programs on Oahu to address those and work with the other agencies. So.
You know, one thing that strikes me is that all these laws on Oahu put the homeless and the police officers more and more in contact with each other, because it used to be the person's not breaking the law, now they are. You have to do something about it. But on the Big Island, you don't have those sorts of laws, neither on Maui.
And as far as like for homeless, from a law enforcement's perspective, police are always the last resort. They're the resort that everybody goes to because we're 24/7, we're available. Well, it needs to be addressed that homelessness is not a crime. It's not a criminal issue. It's a community issue, and we try to address it with the community help, with the help with social services and other agencies. Like on Hawaii County, they did on the Kona area where they moved the homeless out of the old airport area and they put up a homeless shelter down in the industrial area. That is a part of the solution, but you still are lacking in mental health resources for these individuals. Some of these individuals are not homeless because they got kicked out of the home or they're lacking financial responsibilities. They're homeless because they're either on substance abuse or they have mental health issues. And there are no services for them to be afforded. So they look to the police, and the police come, so like Chief Ballard says, our officers are becoming social workers, psychiatrists, doctors, and they have to have all these different hats that they have to wear. It's no longer you just grab the crook, put him in jail, and you're good to go.
Chief Faaumu, how frustrating is it for you to be arresting people who are not criminals, but they're out on the street, and then not really being able to have anything for them other than a jail?
Right. It is frustrating. You know, it's one of the biggest challenges for law enforcement. As Chief Ballard mentioned, we are doing things now in the 21st century policing that is different than when we first came into the police department. We find ourselves doing counseling. We find ourselves looking for areas where we can do diversion. And that's the challenge that we're facing. I think I mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, I had over 149,000 of calls, and 50% of that were non-criminal related. Right. So it is frustrating, but that's the challenge we are facing now as police officers and as police department. You know, when nobody knows the answer, they turn to us to find the solution to it. And it takes a lot of my resources, my manpower, because to deal with a social issue, a homeless issue, it will take more people, it will take more time to address those issues versus going after a criminal, apprehend the criminal, process the criminal, and put them through the judiciary system. In social issues where homelessness is involved, it takes more manpower. But now we're able to work together with the stakeholders and allow us to find more help and work collaboratively to make it work.
Question, and I like this question because I think a lot of people, their main contact with the police department is when they're driving, right? And we've had a spike of pedestrian fatalities on Oahu. We've had, you know, there's always, particularly the Big Island has had some horrible traffic accidents recently. Maybe it's not any higher or lower. Maui so far has been spared, well, knock wood. Caller lives near H3 in Kaneohe, and late on Saturday nights, every Sunday, there is a racing speeding on H3. When he calls 911, they are aware of the issue, but nothing happens. What's the philosophy? How do you guys deal with this? Speeding, recklessness on the roads? How big a challenge is that for your department? How big a priority is it, given everything else you got to do?
Traffic is always a priority because, you know, it can kill. And look at the fatalities that are occurring. It's very difficult, like for the racing, because if we don't witness it, then there's really not anything that we can do. And a lot of people think that, you know, just because they call in and give you the license plate, then we can go and arrest them or tag them. And it's something sometimes that a lot of crimes, it has to be witnessed by the police, you know, for action to be taken. So that type of racing, we do try and put the officers out there when they're available. But staffing is a huge issue on Oahu that this administration is trying to address. And just to give you an example, when I came on board, our staffing they were like at 65% of what should have been out on the road. And so now it's been brought up to 75, and then we're going to increase it 5% every year, you know, until we get up to 95 or 100%.
When you say about on the road, you mean, where are they if they're not on the road?
They're not there. So in other words, if your neighborhood's supposed to have, your area's supposed to have 8 officers, there could only be 4 of them working.
They're not even on the shift?
Right, correct.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the effect of that is the more bodies you have out there, the more places they can be,
correct,
the more they can see.
Correct. So they can go out and do more traffic enforcement and do proactive policing.
Okay. Any thoughts about the speeding issue?
As far as the Hawaii Island, I think a lot of our major accidents are high-speed accidents because if you look at Hawaii County, the roads that are there, it's not freeways where they're divided, it's head-on. So you have a lot of head-on accidents. So when we do see a trend, our officers are directed to go out there and start saturating the area with enforcement, using our traffic enforcement unit, using our patrol officers. Again, we have the challenge of the size of the island. So last year, I think we had a spike in fatalities. So the directive was, okay, identify where these areas are, and we need to concentrate, we need to saturate the area. But I'm also going to say that some of the accidents that occurred, a lot of the accidents that occurred were preventable. They were foolish accidents, overtaking on a double solid line, not paying attention when they're driving. So some of the accidents were, a lot of the accidents were preventable. And that's where the public needs to be educated, that they have to take some responsibility. The drivers out there have to be more responsible in what they're doing.
You know, another caller calls in, and this is another issue that we could probably go on quite a while on, so I appreciate if we can move it fairly quickly. But how do the chiefs feel about marijuana in Hawaii? I mean, we've got a medical marijuana industry is now going to probably be putting more cannabis products into the community. There's also talk about recreational marijuana. How do you guys feel about the possibilities of more marijuana being in the community? Chief Faaumu?
I think for all four police chiefs, we support if there is any medicinal use of marijuana, we support that. Recreational, for me, I'm totally against it, and my reason behind it, we're still trying to deal with the issue of alcoholism and all of that. Now we're going to add one more to the equation, and that will task us a lot now as we deal with it, not only our tactic on what we do, we have to look at our canine, what we're going to do with our canine. They are trained to identify illicit drugs out there, and marijuana was one of them. So we have to change a lot. So I would say I think before they make any move, they have to look at some of the social issue. They have to look at some of the state that move on in that direction, learn from them what they have, what they went through, what are some of their challenges, and then make a good decision from it.
Chief, your island had a particularly interesting relationship to marijuana. Not that everybody's smoking it, but that, you know, you went through an actual initiative that told you minimize how much money or how much effort you're putting in it. How is that affecting you now?
It's still there. That ordinance is still there. That marijuana is the lowest priority. So we don't have what they used to call green harvest. We don't have, you know, those kind of missions. And I concur with Chief Faaumu that the marijuana issue, as far as medical marijuana, law enforcement has been misquoted or targeted in saying that we target medical marijuana patients. I don't know of any department in this state that has targeted any medical marijuana patient. If you have an illness that comes under what the medical marijuana was intended to be for, fine, smoke till you want, as much as you want. But don't tell me you have a sore toe and you need a marijuana certificate. It's the abuse of the program that is affecting law enforcement. You brought up accidents earlier about fatalities. That is a major concern for us once the medical marijuana gets out there. And like Chief Faaumu, I would be against recreational marijuana because it's adding another social problem that we don't need.
Chief Ballard, really quickly on this?
Driving while smoking. I mean, medical marijuana, you go out and then you drive. Now you've got another whole issue, just like DUIs, like driving with alcohol. Another side issue for medical marijuana, you're sitting at home in your backyard, smoking your marijuana, it goes over to your neighbors who might have young kids. So I think there's a lot of different, so if we even look at medical marijuana and recreational, there are a lot of side issues that need to be addressed.
You know, I'm going to ask this question really quickly because we got not much time left and lots of questions. But do you folks end up spending, I think the argument for allowing recreational marijuana is that, oh, the police department is spending so much time chasing people who have marijuana, this would like relieve you of that burden and you'd have more resources for doing other things. Is that not true, Chief?
No, absolutely not, because it would create other problems, like the driving, like dealing with someone walking down the road and smoking marijuana, secondhand smoke for marijuana. I mean, it brings up a whole lot of health issues as well as enforcement issues.
You know, I've actually got to stop asking questions because we are just about out of time. We've got a couple minutes. I'd like to ask each of you, what do you want the community to know most about the police department?
You know, as far as for Hawaii County, you know, I want the community to know that we are their police department. We listen to their concerns. We want to know their concerns. When we hold a community meeting, we want you to come out there. We want you to tell us what's going on. And we do periodically attend community meetings. Myself, my command staff, our community policing officers, every month they attend these meetings. We need to have the voice of the community.
Chief Faaumu?
I encourage them to call, get involved. You know, if you see something, call the police. And a lot of time, folks will say, well, why bother? They never show up. It is one thing that we are working toward it. I want to reassure my community they have a good department. You know, the men and women in my department are dedicated, you know, and they are part of the community. You know, and one thing we also had done, our rural district, we allow those officers to stay in and extend their time in this rural district where they're part of the community. And when they're done, they move back. Have faith in the system, and yes, there are flaws here and there, but I encourage them to get involved, and please continue to call us if you see something.
Okay, Chief Ballard, last word.
Echo what the other chief says, that we are part of the community. Obviously, Oahu has a special issue, you know, with the trust, and we want that back, and we want to hear what you have to say. And if you have a question about why we do something, ask. Because a lot of times just communicating and letting us know what you're thinking, or if you have a question on why we do something, it can clear things up to make sure that we all understand where each other's coming from.
Well, thank you very much, all of you. It's been a great show. It's been very fast. Mahalo to all of you for joining us as well. And we want to thank our guest, Paul Ferreira, Hawaii County's Chief of Police, Susan Ballard, Chief of Police for the Honolulu Police Department, and Tivoli Faaumu, Maui County's Chief of Police. We also wish Chief Perry from Kauai a speedy recovery from his injury. Next week, insights, not injuries, will be preempted so that PBS Hawaii can bring you an encore of the films of Eddie and Myrna Kamai from the heart. Insights will be back March 29th with another special guest panel. Does our local criminal justice system work? We'll hear from the ACLU, the State Public Defender, Honolulu Prosecuting Attorney, and the Hawaii Paroling Authority. That's 2 weeks from tonight, right here. I'm Darryl Huff for Insights on PBS Hawaii. Ahui ho.